Retirement? What retirement? This is Toronto Stevie Live, and this is the Raw Report. How's it going, everybody? Some things happened this week. Some things that you may have expected, some things that were completely unexpected, but let's get into it. Let's start with Monday Night Raw and the Raw Report. Like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think, and especially about the big Brock Lesnar news this week. Let me know what you thought of that. So Monday Night Raw this week came to you from Greensboro, North Carolina, the heart of the old NWA Jim Crockett Promotions territory. We start off with last week on Raw segment, the ongoing Roman Reigns Jacob Fatu feud, which just seems to be the same feud that things happening every single week. Only this time it involves the Usos. But this week, Raw starts off with a parking garage segment. A big black SUV shows up and Roman Reigns gets out. He gets his title and he's immediately met by General Manager Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce just looks at Roman Reigns and said, if you had just listened to me last week, none of this would have happened. He said Jacob Fatu should be fired because he doesn't deserve to be here. This week, we're going to do things my way. Roman Reigns just looks at him and he says, it doesn't matter. I just need a few minutes because I'm calling him out. But before Roman Reigns can call him out, he hears Jacob Fatu's music. We cut to the ring, and Jacob Fatu is already in the ring. And he's got a microphone in his hand. The crowd is already yelling Fatu's name, and it's Jacob Fatu who calls Roman Reigns out. But instead of Roman Reigns coming down to the ring, it's Jimmy and Jey Uso. And Jey Uso has a steel chair in his hand, and so it most certainly looks like he's going to attack Jacob Fatu. Jimmy's got a microphone, and at first he starts talking. He says, Jacob, you told everybody you were doing this for your family, and part of that was acknowledging the tribal chief. He mentions that Jacob lost at Backlash, but he refused to acknowledge Roman Reigns as the tribal chief. Well, that was part of the deal. And then you put your hands on management and they're ready to fire you. You said that you were supposed to give your family a better life, but now you're looking at prison again. Mentioning Jacob's prison history in a WWE storyline is certainly something I never expected that they would go there, but he did. Jey immediately tries to hit Jacob Fatu with a chair, but Jacob Fatu fights it off, and then Jimmy tries to interfere, and that's when Jacob hits the Tongan death grip on Jimmy Uso. Jey tries to fight off Jacob with a chair, and I think he got the Tongan death grip on Jey as well. And this eventually brought out Roman Reigns. First, his music hits and he comes down to the ring. And then the Usos take a powder. And Jacob is in the ring. And Roman Reigns slowly makes his way into the ring. And he starts... and then he and Jacob Fatu start throwing hands. Jacob tries to go for the Tongan death grip. Roman Reigns, I think he did hit some Superman punches. And Jacob actually, when Roman was in the process of his first Superman punch, Jacob Fatu just slapped on the Tongan death grip. That's when I think it was Jey Uso came back in the ring, and then he he hit Jacob with some super kicks, and then he tried to go for a spear. Um, I think he might have speared Jacob. Jimmy comes into the ring with an Uso splash, and then they followed up with a 1D on Jacob Fatu. So it says here's this 3-on-1 assault on Jacob Fatu because then they tied him up in the ring ropes, and that allowed Roman Reigns to hit a couple of Superman punches. So last week, I mean, this WWE booking, I described it as Bizarro World because you have Roman Reigns, who you kind of think he's supposed to be the baby face, and Jacob is supposed to be the heel, except that the fans are constantly cheering Jacob Fatu, chanting his name, and Jacob's storyline, doing what's best for his family is kind of like a babyface storyline, but instead, that storyline had Jacob kind of being the heel, and then this week you have a 3-on-1 assault by Roman Reigns and the Usos on Jacob Fatu, which is kind of reversed the storyline, and it kind of makes Jacob now the babyface, Roman and the Usos are the heels, which I suspected going into the WrestleMania match. That's kind of the vibes that I was getting. But after they triple team Jacob Fatu, the crowd starts breaking out with an OTC chant, cheering on what Roman Reigns is doing, which was bizarre. Again, just Bizarro World. Anyway, Adam Pearce, as Roman Reigns and the Usos are leaving, Adam Pearce comes out, and Roman just looks at Adam Pearce and tells him, "You can do whatever you want now." And before Adam Pearce can fire Jacob Fatu, Jacob in the ring, I think he finds a microphone, and he just says, "Roman, tribal combat." And so it looks like that Jacob Fatu would like to take on Roman Reigns in a tribal combat match. And Roman Reigns immediately grabs the microphone from Adam Pearce and says, "I accept." So Raw started off, this was about 15 minutes, the opening segment. Yet another brawl between these two, but it's making a match for tribal combat. Now, at first, I thought this was going to be for Saturday night's main event because they really hadn't had a legit main event. But I think this is going to be for Clash in Italy. That's going to be the main event of Clash in Italy. So for follow up to WrestleMania and Backlash, it's at this point, you almost gotta have Jacob win the match. So I'll go with my prediction right now, and I could be wrong, but Clash in Italy, Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. I'm picking Jacob Fatu to win the match. I think they're gonna put the belt on him. You almost have to do that, but we'll see how that goes. You have some arrivals, the Judgment Day, Oba Femi and Seth Rollins. There is a video of Finn Balor talking about how he was mentoring JD McDonough, and then about 20 minutes, 17 to 20, 15 to 20 minutes, 17 minutes into the show, they start off with the opening match of the night. It is a street fight between Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and immediately the crowd erupts with a "We want tables" chant. Balor and McDonough are going back and forth without a bunch of moves. When at one point during this match, Dirty Dominic Mysterio makes his way down to the ring, and this being a street fight, basically no rules. It basically means that Dirty Dom can interfere in the match and the referee can't do anything about it. So Dirty Dom basically helps JD McDonough get the upper hand in the match. Um, I think he helped McDonough um, um, get Finn Balor suplex through a table. Tried to pin him, but Finn Balor kicked out. And then Dirty Dom introduced some trash cans, and I think this was a mistake. Kind of backfired on JD McDonough because um, uh, Balor so um, Balor reversed the 619 and forced Dirty Dom to hit JD McDonough with the 619, and then got rid of Dirty Dom. He put one of the trash cans all over JD McDonough, and then he hit a coup de grace on the trash can onto JD McDonough, and then took JD out of the garbage can and pinned him 1, 2, 3. So it was Finn Balor winning the street fight and kind of the grudge match because they have had 3 matches, and this was sort of the rubber match. There is a last week on Raw video segment of Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker and the Street Profits. Then a backstage segment. Everyone's favorite backstage interviewer and mine, the very attractive Kathy Kelly, is interviewing Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins basically says he's a marked man. He doesn't got any friends. He doesn't got any allies. But he alone says he's got to put an end to the vision. He's been spinning these wheels thinking about the best way to do that. And the best way to do that is to run right through them. He says he hasn't had a match on Monday Night Raw in 9 months, but that's going to change tonight. Adam Pearce, he wants Adam Pearce to make a match against any member of the Vision, but he personally wants Braun Breaker to accept the match. And so we leave it at that. And elsewhere in the backstage, you have Oba Femi warming up for his open challenge, coming back from the commercial break. They're still backstage, and Mr. Charisma himself, Byron Saxton, is back on Raw. He's interviewing Sol Ruka. And I really like this because Sol Ruka, she's talking about how she's had 2 exciting matches against Liv Morgan and Io Sky, but she's immediately confronted by the WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch, who also brings up the fact that, oh, you're 0-2. You haven't won a single match since you came up to Monday Night Raw, and you're supposed to be the future of the WWE. You can't even win a match. And then Becky basically tells Sol Ruka you should go back to NXT, and Sol Ruka basically says, "Oh, you've got a good point." And so Sol Ruka basically makes her way to the ring, and she basically challenges Becky Lynch to a match. And Becky Lynch, I think she comes down to the ring, and they basically are in the ring talking back and forth. And Becky basically says no. I know, she says, I'd love to perform for the people of Greensboro, North Carolina, because Lord knows they could use some excitement in their lives. She says she'd love to give them a Becky Lynch match, but she prides herself on, she doesn't just pride herself on being the greatest female athlete. But basically, Becky does her usual thing. You've heard this promo many times over, and Sol Ruka. So basically, I think Becky says, well, I'll face you at Saturday night's main event. Um, but she reminds Sol Ruka, I'm not just a star maker, I'm a star breaker. And I think she did mention all of the wrestlers that she has gone through, namely Lyra Valkyria, Maxine Dupree, and AJ Lee. And so they make the match, and this is announced later on. That's Saturday night's main event, which is, I believe it's this Saturday, is going to be, they want a new match added to the card. Women's Intercontinental title match, Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruka. Considering that Sol Ruka is 0-2, she really doesn't deserve a title shot right now. Maybe it is. It could be if it's a non-title match and she has to earn a title shot by beating Becky Lynch. I can understand that. But having a title match right away really doesn't make any sense. We have someone on the line here. It is Mr. Chobo. How are you doing? By the way, Raw was average. Well, you've probably guessed where I'm going, Anthony, but let me know what you think as we're going along here. World Tag Team Champions Austin Theory and Logan Paul are with Paul Heyman, and they're concerned about the Street Profits. Braun Breaker approaches Heyman and says he wants to face Seth Rollins, but Heyman basically says no, tonight Austin Theory is going to face Seth Rollins, but you're going to know where Seth Rollins is later tonight. And I guess that puts a smile on Braun Breaker's face. Coming back from the commercial break is a Tornado Trios Tag Team match. It is the original El Grande Americano with his Los Americanos, Bruto and Julio, basically Brutus and Julius Creed, versus the second El Grande Americano and his Los Americanos, Rayo and Bravo. I really don't know yet who those guys are. It could be Axiom, it could be Los Garzas. Who knows who is behind those masks? Anyway, they're all wearing masks. They all go through their usual stuff. And at one point, all three of the heel Americanos put metal plates in their head. And basically, this ended up with the fake Americano. I think he had a flying headbutt or a running headbutt on one of the Americanos on the other guys and pinned them. And they celebrate the victory in the ring. Coming back, we immediately go to the backstage, and you have Brie Bella and Paige walking backstage. They do coming back from the commercial break. They recap Roman Reigns and the Usos attacking Jacob Fatu. And I think this is when they made it official that the Tribal Combat match will take place for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's the third match in this, and it is taking place at Clash in Italy. So Clash in Italy now has a legit main event. And they do a video of what exactly Tribal Combat is, which is just basically a no-rules street fight, kind of like a street fight, no disqualifications and all that. Kathy Kelly is interviewing the Usos backstage when they're confronted by LA Knight, who hasn't been on WWE television for several weeks. And it's been rumored that LA Knight could be on his way out of the WWE. If you were reading the internet the past few weeks, a lot of people have been speculating that when LA Knight's contract is up, that he is on his way out of the WWE. He could show up in TNA, return to Eli Drake, could show up in AEW, but As of right now, they put him back on WWE television, so we'll see where that goes. There is an interview that Michael Cole does with All Ego Ethan Page, who does kind of look like a geek with his suit and his glasses. Um, Hamilton, Ontario's own Ethan Page. Yeah, he does kind of look like a geek. Um, Coming back from the commercial break, we have the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Liv, Brie Bella, and Paige taking on Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, defending the titles. They mention on this, I think it was Michael Cole mentions that that this was Paige's first Raw match since 2017. So this is like 9 years. So it's been 9 years for Paige. And Nikki, I think Nikki's first match on Raw since 2018, 8 years. So these two haven't had a match on Monday Night Raw in a long time. So this one goes through a commercial break. And you do have Liv Morgan down at the ringside area. And she does her best to interfere in the match, or at least distract the referee. It backfires on the heels because I think it was Brie Bella who got a roll up on one of the heels to pin them and win the match. And Liv Morgan attacks Paige and Brie, and this basically brings out Bayley and Lyra Valkyria to make the save. So it looks like, this is just generic mid-card women feuding. The ongoing feud among all these tag teams continues. And Paige and Brie Bella continue their title reign. So we go back to the parking lot. Seth Rollins. This time Seth Rollins has the backstage segment with LA Knight. And LA Knight says the chickens have come home to roost for Seth Rollins. He says, you could win the match tonight, but you're going to get stomped out. And LA Knight basically says the enemy of my enemy is not my friend, referring to Seth Rollins. He says, Rollins, you're gonna need help tonight, but you're not gonna get it from me. So elsewhere backstage, Oba Femi his open challenge is next. And this was, for me, what happened after the commercial break was one of the highlights of the night. Let me know what you think about this one. But basically, first there's a Penta video package. He cuts a promo on Ethan Page, and then we cut to the ring. Oba Femi the lights go down low. Oba Femi makes his entrance. He's walking down to the ring. He gets in the ring, and you still see the lights haven't come up yet. And while he's basically doing his strut, you see that somebody attacks him from behind. The lights go up, and all of a sudden, it's a returning Brock Lesnar. And it's Brock Lesnar who basically makes his return, and he just beats the tar out of Oba Femi, and he immediately hits him with not one, not two, not three, but 4 F5s in a row. And he just takes out Oba Femi and leaves him laying. And the Michael Cole is just dumbfounded. He says, that Brock Lesnar has returned. This was a genuine shock that you saw Brock coming back. And it leads to a lot of speculation that, I guess, a lot of internet speculation that TKO, the parent company of WWE, was looking to cut a lot of expensive salaries. This is one of the reasons why the New Day was asked to renegotiate their contracts. They refused and they walked. And then there was like a lot of cuts to the rosters on Raw and SmackDown, including the entire Wyatt Six group. But one of those other names that certainly seemed like they were on their way out was also Brock Lesnar after WrestleMania. It certainly seemed after he left his gloves and boots in the ring, it certainly seemed like he was retired. And it certainly seemed like he wasn't acting like this was a legitimate retirement. But, you know, maybe it was. Maybe TKO had a change of thought, a change of heart, and decided, well, let's give Brock a few more big paychecks and let him have a proper retirement match. Since I believe I heard that SummerSlam is going to be in Minnesota. And so a proper retirement match could be in the works for SummerSlam in his hometown. And his opponent could be either Oba Femi or possibly even Gunther, who's the current, who's retired a lot of wrestlers. You could have Gunther actually retiring Brock Lesnar. We'll see where that goes. But because I can't believe that this was like all part of the plan. That, you know, they came to Brock Lesnar and said, we want you to do a fake retirement at WrestleMania. And then a few months later, we want you to attack Oba Femi, and you're gonna shock the world. I don't think that was the plan at all. I think this was a pivot. I don't know if we're ever going to get the full story about this. Maybe one day with an interview with Brock Lesnar or Triple H or somebody, maybe on WWE Untold, who knows. But it certainly seems like this was a legitimate change in direction. And they just decided to give Brock Lesnar a lot of money to come back for a proper retirement. So we'll see what happens. And let me know what you think. Do you think this was a pivot? Do you think this was all part of the plan? Leave a comment and let me know. Backstage, Adam Pearce, he wants to know what the hell is going on. He's going back to his office and he sees Paul Heyman. And he looks at Paul Heyman and says, "What's going on here? I filed the retirement paperwork on Brock Lesnar's behalf." And Paul Heyman just says, well, Brock Lesnar is retired, but he says, Brock Lesnar is going to make Adam Pearce's career. And he hands Adam Pearce a contract at Clash in Italy. It already has Brock Lesnar's signature on it. And he basically says he wants Oba Femi to sign it for the biggest rematch in wrestling history. And then Paul Heyman just leaves. So elsewhere backstage, you have Kathy Kelly interviewing the Street Profits. They're going to challenge for the World Tag Team titles on Saturday night's main event. And they're going to leave Saturday night's main event as the new tag team champions. And Angelo Dawkins looks over and he sees Seth Rollins. And Montez Ford is not the least bit impressed. I guess he doesn't trust Seth Rollins. So coming back from the commercial break is the main event of the night. It is Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory. I think listeners and viewers of In Your Head Wrestling Radio know exactly what I think of Austin Theory. I think this guy I'm not impressed. Um, if there's one guy I wish, you know, a lot of all of these wrestling podcasters say, you shouldn't wish for somebody to lose their jobs. Um, I suppose I should take that position with Austin Theory, but I just have this feeling like they've tried and tried and tried with this guy multiple times, and he just doesn't have it. He is a good mid carder, but that's his position, and he's not going to go higher up on the card. And so, if he could find employment elsewhere, he probably could. But WWE, I mean, he has reached his ceiling, and he's not going to go any higher. So Seth Rollins and Austin Theory have a match. Logan Paul is at ringside. Um, they have a good back and forth match. Rollins. So at one point, um, Austin Theory gets Seth Rollins down at ringside in front of the announce table, and over by the steel stairs, Austin Theory just smashes into one of Seth Rollins' ankles and just destroys it. And this basically neutralizes, according to Corey Graves, neutralizes Seth Rollins. He can't do the stomp with any leg. He can't pivot. He can't set his foot and anchor his foot to give the stomp with either foot. So Rollins does a good job selling the injury for the rest of the match, trying to go for a stomp and being unable to do so. And this gives Austin Theory an advantage. And Austin Theory, you know, he tries to go for a stomp, but Rollins gets out of it. But but eventually, Seth Rollins does pivot away from the stomp, and he manages to. At one point, Logan Paul tries to give Austin Theory the brass knuckles, telling telling Seth, and the microphones pick this up. He looks at Austin Theory and he says, "Smoke him," to Seth Rollins. So Theory tries to hit Rollins with the brass knuckles, but Rollins ducks them and actually takes them away. So Seth, so Austin Theory immediately shows the referee that Rollins has the brass knuckles. But instead of hitting Austin Theory with the brass knuckles, he hits Logan Paul with them. Well, his back is turned. Austin Theory tries to roll up Seth Rollins, but Rollins counters with a pedigree. He uses the pedigree and then just pins Austin Theory 1, 2, 3. He wins the match, but immediately Logan Paul jumps out behind him and starts beating him up. This brings out Angelo Dawkins. He saves Seth Rollins briefly, and then Logan Paul and Austin Theory double team Dawkins, which brings out Montez Ford. And they're going at each other. And I think that the tag team champions did neutralize the Street Profits in this segment, in this post-match brawl, because this brought out Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker comes down to the ring, and I think he took out, I think maybe he took out Angelo Dawkins. He gives a gutbuster to Montez Ford, and they win. The match goes off the air. Well, I have to end the show right now because my wife is calling me. Good night, everybody. Sorry, but I have to go.
Would you come down for a minute?